All right, welcome Rob and Amanda. Congrats on the book. I know you can't see it because of my background, but it's called A Place to Write, Getting Your Students Out of the Classroom and Into the World. Can y'all introduce yourselves really briefly, say your name, and then, what's your background in education?
So my name is Amanda Montgomery, and I have taught elementary school for 9 years. I currently teach third grade in Marietta City.
And I'm Rob Montgomery, and I'm currently the undergraduate program coordinator and advisor for English education at Kennesaw State University.
Nice, Rob. And you used to teach high school, right? High school English?
That's right. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I taught that for 10 years. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, thank you. Well, I was thinking that maybe we could just start by y'all telling us a little bit about what the book is about. And probably in that, it would be helpful to just include what you mean by place-based writing.
Sure. So we got interested in this, and I sort of tell people that the book is kind of a testament to the National Writing Project and the work that we did when we were co-directing the Kennesaw Mountain Writing Project Summer Institute. That we got really fascinated with this idea of sort of writing in the outdoors, but not necessarily just the outdoors, sort of expanding where students can write productively and write authentically. So I guess it was 2016 that the NCTE conference was here in Atlanta. And so we planned a writing marathon. If people who are familiar with this will know that writing project sites can get together on Friday morning and we'll do an activity. And so we led a writing marathon around Centennial Olympic Park here in Atlanta.
Cool.
And as we were planning that a few weeks before, we started to see how some of the things that we were coming up with for people to write about, it was sort of reflective in nature, but it was also giving them a chance to do some narrative writing, maybe writing poetry, some elements of argumentation. We could see where research could be built into these writing activities or writing prompts. And I think it was really at that point that we started to see, oh, this is really cool. And students could do a lot of the stuff that's sort of traditionally expected of them in schools, but do it in a way that, hopefully is more engaging to them and to the teachers and more authentic as well. And so that's when we kind of started to sort of brainstorm what we envisioned for this, where we thought it might go, and so that's how it got started, and we sort of eventually landed on this idea that what we meant by place, at least for our book, was the idea that it's anywhere not in a classroom. And there's certainly more to it than that if you read the book. But as we were trying to decide, all right, so what counts as a place for the book, we were thinking about just getting students out of the classroom, even if it's just starting small on your school site, that counts and that's important. And so that's when we really started to think about how we could use this in our own teaching and then how we could expand it out into a larger project.
Nice. Thank you, Amanda. You want to add to that, or?
I just know we had a lot of argument and a lot of discussion about what a place was. Especially as both of us being practicing teachers and doing writing in our own classroom, what would we define outside of our classroom as a place? And so we hope that within this book that it defines a little better the many different types of places and the many different ways that you can define a place as a teacher. It's very flexible by what you can consider a place to write.
Yeah, and place is so important for writers. You have your space where you feel comfortable writing, but sometimes when you're stuck, it's nice to go outside that space, and it helps you, think about other things and be engaged in other ways. So this is important, and it's not really been written about very much.
Yeah, I mean, we noticed as we were first starting to research, just to see what else was out there. I mean, there's a lot of good work that's been done in, primarily environmental advocacy and stewardship, and some, although probably a little bit less, in sort of community engagement and sort of reclamation of community voices, and helping students find their own voices in their home communities. And both of those things are obviously hugely important, and we talk about those as well in the book. But we also thought, for teachers who maybe don't feel like they're ready to tackle those topics, you know, are there some smaller scale things that might seem more manageable, more reasonable, that would still be just as meaningful to students, just as authentic, give students a voice and some agency in their writing, and all the kinds of stuff that we do try to lay out as the possible benefits of place-based writing.
Yeah. Well, so in the end, who is the book written for?
Teachers. That really is it. Teachers from really any grade level, teachers who are just looking for a way to better engage their students in more authentic writing. And that was who we had in mind since the beginning. That's who we both work with and work for every single day. And so we really hope that this book reaches any teacher out there who wants to make writing more engaging, more interesting, and more authentic for their students in the classroom.
Yeah, and again, I mean, this really is, you know, I always am afraid I'll be talking too much about writing project stuff, but I mean, I think we've both been influenced by just how, I mean, some of the best ideas that I got from my own classroom came from teachers who were teaching elementary school, teachers who were teaching in other disciplines. And it's just a matter of taking those good ideas and figuring out how you can make them work for yourself in your own context. And so even though we described a lot of activities in the book, and some of them, as we describe them, may sound, some of them may sound more appropriate for older students, some may sound more appropriate for younger students. I think sort of the beauty of just how flexible and malleable place-based writing is that you can take something that is designed for one sort of set of students, and with just very little modification can make it work for yourself. So I mean, Amanda's right. I mean, it really is. I think we see this book as being beneficial to teachers of all kinds, and not just English teachers. We talk about ways that you can, if you're an English teacher, ways that you can forge sort of interdisciplinary or cross-curricular connections with teachers in other disciplines. And so if you're a science teacher who wants to incorporate more writing in your classroom, you'll find lots to work with in here. Same thing if you're a history teacher. We tackle those kinds of things and hopefully provide some practical opportunities for them to do the kind of work they'd like to do.
Nice. So all levels and lots of different subjects can get something out of this book.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Nice. So can you tell us a little bit about how it's organized? Because y'all were very specific about how you organize, especially most of the chapters. What was it, 4 through, how many chapters are there in the end?
3 through 7.
3 through 7, yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I think that'll help us kind of, visualize how it's set up and how we might be able to get something out of it.
Sure.
Yeah, you tackle that.
Right. Yeah. So the first couple chapters, first chapter, we just sort of set up, sort of lay some theory on you and talk about what we think is sort of the general benefits of place-based writing. The second chapter is a longer chapter where Amanda talks specifically about 2 place-based writing things she did with her own students. So we get some student voices and see how she made it work in her 4th grade classroom years ago. But then 3 through 7, so we're looking real specifically at different types of places. So chapter 3 focuses on school places. Chapter 4 deals with writing in museums or learning centers. Chapter 5 is public places. Chapter 6 is natural places. And then chapter 7 is virtual places. But then we sort of maintain a similar structure across those different chapters, so that within each chapter, you'll find sections on sort of one extended kind of lesson idea that would probably be a longer, maybe 1 or 2 week activity or assignment. But then we have sections on writing to make some connections to literature, writing narratives, writing